Light was a weak, pathetic adventurer who almost got murked by his own teammates. However, after losing all hope, he accidentally unlocks a cheat skill and becomes the strongest to get his revenge. This story starts on the day Light left his family in the village to fulfill his dream of becoming an adventurer powerful enough to give them all comfortable lives. Days later, he finally makes it to the City of Dreams and quickly sets out to find the Adventurers Guild. On the way there, he bumps into a beast man and gets shocked by his hostility. However, Light quickly forgets about it and eventually finds the guild, where a receptionist welcomes him and asks for his skill, so she can give him the proper rank. After saying that he has something called the Unlimited Gacha, she gets confused, so he activates the skill and basically summons a card that transforms into a broken fork. Naturally, she gets even more confused, but he assures her that his skill is not totally worthless before proceeding to summon rotten food. To avoid more dumpster trash getting stacked on her desk, she decides to register him as an F-rank adventurer and explains that he can only do some manual labor as work until he gets strong enough to handle real quests. He then tries to read some of the job offers on a board, but quickly realizes that the languages are much too complex for his pea-sized brain. Thankfully, the receptionist explains where he can get a day's job, so he heads out and spends the rest of the day doing any hard labor he can get. However, on his way to find an inn that night, he bumps into a bunch of beastmen who then cuss him out for walking so close to them. Light immediately apologizes and tries to leave, but they stop him and demand payment to get their clothes cleaned up. The next moment, the leader grabs all the money he has left, and when he tries to get it back, they kick him back into the mud and tell him not to bother following them. After they leave, Light tries to pull himself together as more beastmen walk past and curse at him. All of a sudden, a lady reaches out to him, and after taking her hand with his muddy fingers, he sees that she is an elf and quickly moves back in fear. Upon seeing this, Sasha tells him not to worry and calmly gets down in the mud to hug him. Like that isn't enough, a beastman named Garu, who came with her, explains that their party aims to end discrimination among all 9 races. After Sasha helps him up, they all introduce themselves and assure him that they are only looking for a human to make their party complete, so they can finally achieve world peace by uniting all the races. Upon hearing this, Light's hope in the world gets restored, and he agrees to join their party. Days later, they take him into the abyss to slay powerful serpents, but his blatant lack of skill almost causes him to get eaten up. Luckily, Drago and Sasha manage to protect him, and as she walks over to check on him, the rest of the gang starts teasing her about her addiction to his cute face. As Sasha quickly states that she just doesn't want their party to lose another member, Light gets upset, but Drago tells him not to worry about getting stronger just yet because they all enjoy the tea he makes. Several minutes later, they get to a crossroads deep within the abyss, and Drago suddenly says it's the perfect spot for the final step of their plan, so Light decides to make them all another round of tea. However, the moment he sets out all the cups, Drago banishes him from the party. Naturally, he gets shocked by this and asks if it's some sort of joke, but Garu tells him to stop acting stupid and says they could never accept a worthless weakling like him as part of their party. All of a sudden, they all take turns explaining how traumatizing it felt to watch over a weak peasant. But the real shock sets in when Sasha says she wanted to throw up when she first held his dirty hands. Light then asks why they all acted nice if they always thought he was useless. So Garu explains that their seniors became intrigued by his ability and thought he was a powerful hero called the Maestro, which is why they were sent to keep an eye on him. The whole talk of ending discrimination with their party was just a script they acted out to win his trust, so they could see if he was actually some overpowered hero. Upon hearing this, Light says he has never been able to use his skill for anything meaningful, and after they all agree that he is the literal meaning of the word useless, Drago tells Garu to finish him off before other adventurers show up. Despite hearing his words loud and clear, Light refuses to believe that they can actually be that heartless until Garu's claws slice into his face. He immediately tries to escape, but Sasha shoots an arrow into his thigh, causing him to crash into the dirt. While they continue talking about how useless he is, Garu proceeds to rearrange his insides with a series of brutal kicks until they remind him that Light's death is meant to look like a sudden monster attack. After complaining for a bit, Garu decides to put an end to his suffering, But in a moment of desperation, Light activates a portal and ends up in a different part of the abyss. Despite knowing that he is still cooked the moment a monster finds him, he takes a moment to cry about the shocking betrayal and swears to unalive every single one of them with his bare hands. The next moment, he senses something powerful behind him and sees a colossal hydra preparing to feast on his bones. After realizing that he somehow teleported to the deepest part of the abyss, he still refuses to accept his fate and starts frantically pressing his gacha, hoping to escape again. Right then, it changes form and reveals a powerful Yu-Gi-Oh card that summons a plot-heavy chick named Mei.
Magic.
As she kneels in front of him, his PTSD skyrockets, but she calmly heals him and says she couldn't bear to see him in so much pain. After realizing that she actually healed all his injuries, Light jumps back and asks how, but she starts calling him master and pledges to dedicate her life to serving him. She then explains that she is an ultra-rare card summoned by his Unlimited Gacha and continues pledging eternal loyalty. But he refuses to believe it and says his gacha has always been useless. After offering to use her appraisal skill to read through his stats, Mei begs him to only call her by name since he is her master.
Naughty.
So he reluctantly accepts just to make sense of what she is saying. She then uses her skill to look through his stats and explains that his latent abilities were hidden under a conceal spell that would only be visible to someone on level 999, like her. She also explains that his gacha's ability to summon cards is actually affected by the level of mana surrounding him, and since mana is at its lowest on the surface, he could have never summoned someone like her without reaching the deepest level of the abyss. As then commends him on being brave enough to reach such depths all alone. He starts bawling his eyes out and explains how Goro almost turned him into a human kebab. After listening to his tragic story, Mei pulls him in for a hug and uses the power of her divine melons to cure his sadness. She then tells him not to worry about anything else and promises to bring all their heads to him on a platter as soon as he gives the order, but he hesitates and says it won't be necessary. This surprises Mei, but she commends his kindness before saying that Sasha and the rest of them deserve the worst death imaginable. Light then explains that he has no intention of showing mercy, but he wants to be the one who takes them all out. To achieve that, he needs to become much stronger because he still can't fight a squirrel at his current level. Upon hearing this, Mei promises to do anything in her power to make him the strongest. And after thanking her for everything, Light activates his gacha again to start maxing out his stats. If you enjoyed this video and think Light can actually get strong enough to defeat an entire party of overpowered villains, comment part 2 to see what happens next. And don't forget to turn on post notification.